Welcome to the Mindful Nomad podcast. I'm your host, Miguel Gutierrez. This podcast is an exploration into the world of creatives, community leaders, and entrepreneurs, taking a deep dive into their lives, focusing strongly on lifestyle, spirituality, mental health, and education. So grab a seat, relax, and join me for this exciting journey through conversations with other mindful nomads. This was previously recorded for the podcast Travel Cuts and Consciousness, but I've decided to keep it on a playlist as it still aligns well with the Mindful Nomads podcast. Enjoy. Welcome to a brand new episode of Travel Cuts and Consciousness. I'd like to introduce you to our guest today, Jody Taylor. Jody is a renowned hairdresser, session stylist, focused and predominantly a men's hair, who began his career with Tony and Guy back in 1999, where he worked his way up to become part of the artistic team. Jody has been a finalist for the Men's Hairdresser of the Year 4 times and won the accolade in 2010, so it's an honor to finally be chatting to him about his career, because we've never actually met. Jody, how are you? And did I miss anything out there that you'd like to add?
Nah, man. No, that's a nice intro. Yeah, I'm good. It's funny when you say 1999. It's a long time, isn't it? It's a long time. 21 years in the game. But yeah. I'm good, mate. Thank you for having me, man. It's a pleasure. It's so strange, like we were just saying before, that we've not met in person before or actually had a proper conversation other than like on Instagram or text message. So thank you for having me, mate. It's a pleasure to be here.
No worries. This is one of the first names I thought of when I was thinking about the podcast, actually. Especially just for the fact that we've never actually sat down and had a conversation. It's good. It's a good way to get to know each other.
Why not record it?
Yeah, exactly. When I looked at your website, I was like, wow, 1999. That is, it's a long time.
I know, mate. It's crazy. Do you know what? And the thing is, it only feels like I've been doing it for like 10 years or something. Do you know what I mean? So to think 21 years is literally gone so quickly. But obviously the first 3, I trained for 3 years. It took me 3 years. So like actually cutting hair properly, 18 years. But yeah, man, it's been great. I've had a great time so far, but I still feel like my career's just started, if you know what I mean. There's lots to do. Yeah. So it's kind of nice in that sense, isn't it? It's not, you're not stuck sort of behind a desk, sort of every day being mundane. It's been a nice kind of variety like throughout.
Yeah. I think I'm like 16 or 17 years, but like you say, it doesn't feel like that at all.
Yeah.
I'm not quite in the 90s, but
I know, mate. And the thing is, I was 19 when I started as well. I started 2 days before my 19th birthday. So like I didn't even start when I was 16. Do you know what I mean? So if I'd have started from school, it would have add another 3 years to it. I'd be like a proper veteran.
Yeah. And you started straight in Tony and Guy. That was the first place.
Yeah. It was strange because I never thought I was going to be like a hairdresser or a barber whatsoever. Like it was not even a question on my mind. And I was just at a lost place in myself back then. Like I was kind of I had no direction of where I wanted to go, like career wise. I was doing A-levels, went straight from school, and the only thing I liked was photography, but I got kicked out because I just never went. I went to Leighton sixth form, and back then it was like, if you don't go to school, if you don't go to college, they don't phone your house. So I just never went. So I just spent my whole time sort of with my friends getting stoned and bunking, basically. So 3 months in, but like at Christmas, started September at Christmas, I got kicked out, and then kind of took like 6 months sabbatical at 16 and just done nothing. And then got a job in the city, done that for like a year. I could just buy records and like stuff like that really, and clothes. But I hated it. And then I got a haircut once in Selfridges because my dad started going there for some reason, even though he was pretty much bald, and he paid like £18 for a haircut. And he come back and was like, it's sick, like you got to go. And I was used to paying like £3 from like the local kind of Greek guy that cut hair in Walthamstow. So I went to Selfridges and I had curtains and I paid like £18, and they didn't even like taper it. It was like they left it all soft, and I was like, is he taking the piss? I've just paid like £18 for that. Like, and it's not even clean around the edges and stuff. And I was like, but I quite enjoyed the process of going somewhere fancy.
Was that when it was Regis?
No, it was like a barbershop in Selfridges. Like it was just like, I don't think it had the name. It was just like Selfridges barbershop. But yeah, it was like weird. You know, I didn't think that you could spend that much money on hair.
But when you say £18 now, it doesn't sound like a lot
Yeah,
at all.
I know. I know. And the thing is, like at the time, I was spending like I think £3 or £4 at a push. Do you know what I mean? Just from some dude, but like it was like that's what you're used to. So this was fancy. Then my mum was on at me like about what job to get. My dad was trying to get me to go and work on the roads, like as a road person, you know, like where they put the cones out and put fake traffic lights up. Like he'd got something from the council and saying that I should do that, and I was like, nah. Like I ain't doing that. No disrespect to that, but that doesn't seem interesting to me. And my mum at the time, she was going to Tony and Guy for her birthday. She used to go like twice a year, birthday and Christmas in Covent Garden. And I said to her, Mum, I wouldn't mind trying to do hair. And she was like, oh well. All right, she got well excited, and she come back from her haircut with a number for head office, and they I phoned them up, and they give me an interview, and I went there. I remember going to this building in like I think in Mayfair or Russell Square, and it was really fancy. It was not a salon; it was like an office building, like Tony and Guy's head office, and I didn't even know what Tony and Guy was. I just knew my mum went there, and there was a product in the bathroom with like TG in this like the really old packaging, and I used to just spray it on my hair, not even knowing what it was. So she come back with this number. I phoned it, had this interview, and this lady Brenda interviewed me, who was like Tony's right hand man, and she's like been with Tony and Guy the whole time. She's like old school Don, and she was like, come into the shop, see if you like it, and if you do, you can have a job. But it's so different to anything you do. And I was like a little chavvy like kid that just was like not used to this world. Like I didn't know what a layer was. I didn't know like blow drying. I didn't know anything. And I got to the shop and Tony was there that day, and Anthony Moscolo. Like it was on a Thursday, and I think they purposely made me go on a Thursday because they knew that them two come into the Mayfair salon. So I was looking at these guys, and I'm like, these are guys are millionaires. The shop's full of girls, and all the guys are having fun. Like everyone's got a smile on their face, and they're playing music in here. Like this is great. Like so, and then all my friends were like taking the piss out of me. Oh, you're going to be a hairdresser, and saying all the usual stuff. And I was like, do you know what? I really enjoy it. Like I'd like all the like. There was a couple of there was one boy who was an assistant as well, and the rest were girls, and they were all like just funny girls, and we just had a laugh. Like, and it was a lot of it was cleaning to start with. Do you know what I mean? You clean, scrubbing toilets, doing all of that sort of stuff. But I actually enjoyed that work at the same time as well, because I just loved the place. It was wicked. Like, but it took me so long to learn. So yeah. I think the question was, where did I start?
No, that's fine. I like hearing about all these things. What were you earning at the time? Was it like 50 a week?
£60 a week.
60? That's not
£60 a week, yeah. And I used to get, because the shop was in Mayfair, I used to get the Victoria line from Walthamstow straight to Green Park and walk up. And then obviously you travel, obviously like, travel card weren't as expensive. My mum did help me out with travel and stuff, and used to make me a sandwich, or I used to take a pot noodle and all that sort of stuff, But there was ways of like getting a little bit more money. You got tips then. Do you know what I mean? Like you get
wash someone's hair.
Wash someone's hair, and like especially when the bosses and stuff come in, because their clients were like old school. Like some of them were sir, some of them were like lady and stuff, So you washed their hair, massaged them, gave them a coffee, and they'd always give you a couple of quid. Do you know what I mean? So some days you could have like £15 in tips, and back then that was like massive. Do you know what I mean? I used to love it. I used to love chatting to the old ladies and washing their hair. Interesting people, like older people. Do you know what I mean? So for me, it's always like a pleasure. That side of it, I loved it. But yeah, 3 years the apprenticeship was there.
And that was in the Mayfair store.
Yeah, so you work there 4 days a week, and you go to the academy 1 day a week. Like the education at Tony and Guy, and I'd imagine at Sassoon and stuff like that is amazing, but it just takes longer because you only have like access to train like 1 day at the academy, and then maybe one night you do a model night, so you'd get a model come in. So there's kind of like, it's very hard to shortcut that, because you do like 2 years doing your MVQ. But if you've done that you could do that, I think London School of Barbering would do you an MVQ in 3 months or something. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So you can condense things like that, but because you go once a week, it just takes a lot longer. But yeah, great training, man. Great people, great times. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. except for the money.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was on £60 a week, and that was a few years later than that. Didn't
Oh,
really
really?
Yeah, but when you come, I was coming straight out of school, so to me, £60 a week was like,
You buzzing, yeah. You got dough.
I went from £5 a week pocket money to £60 a week. I was like, yeah, loving
No,
life.
it's funny. I remember like one of my mates is like he was doing a jewelry apprenticeship from school, so he like he'd get like 30-40 pound a week at 16, and like Friday night would get a couple of like, I don't know, hooches or whatever it was, or like tropical reefs. Do you know what I mean? Go and sit around our mate's house, and like you'd have money for a takeaway, like you get bits in and that. You'd be like, it was great times, wasn't it? Spend your money, no overhead.
I always remember when Hooch came out and it was in the headlines, people were slamming it because like they were young teenagers getting drunk in the street.
Mate, our Coke Pop times, mate, were great.
Yeah,
because never really liked beer too much. You know what I mean? So something sweet and sugary back then at that age, it was like killer. Amazing.
Did you grow? So you grew up in Walthamstow? That's where you're from.
Yeah. So I grew up in a place called Wood Street, Walthamstow. I went to school like where I don't know if you've ever seen Walthamstow Dogs. It's like iconic kind of listed building.
Yeah.
The sign. I've got a sign on my wall. I'll show you in a minute. But it's like my school was directly behind that. But the Dogs is no longer there anymore. It's kind of like flats now. But because it's a listed building, I had to keep the front up. But it's massive. It was a great place that.
Everything's flats in London now.
Yeah,
it's turned into flats.
I know. And the thing is, Walthamstow's trendy now as well, which makes me laugh even more because it's the same, I suppose, if someone grew up in Hackney, that's even trendier. But Walthamstow now, like last year, I went to like near where I used to live, and there was like a cheese and wine festival. I was like, this is the like street that I got a knife pulled out on me on my way home from school at like 14, doing cheese and wine festivals. Like, what's going on?
I think with gentrification, like slowly from everywhere from Brick Lane and then east, everything just got pushed further and further out over the years. So then it was like Bethnal Green, then Hackney, and then a bit further than that, then Walthamstow. So I don't know what's going to be gentrified next, but.
I know. I'm in Woodford, and I've been here for a few years, so I'm hoping it comes here, so the price of my flat goes up. To be honest, I'm like, this used to be the posh part, before, and then I moved, and now it's like the not posh part, and the posh part's the other side. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Funny.
So when you became a hairdresser, I guess your mum knew about it, but were the rest of your family quite supportive, or they were like?
I mean, I think because I'd just been like bumming around for a while, really, and kind of in and out of jobs and never really sticking to one thing. They were like my mum and dad were just happy that I was like consistently working. I suppose my older brothers were fine with it. They sort of like were. I've got two older brothers. They were like traveling around that sort of time as well. So one would be away for a year, and the other was away for a year or something. So, you know, they weren't that. You know, one of them used to come in to get his hair cut. They I would say they were supportive. They were definitely like my mum and dad were very like open-minded, liberal people. So no matter what I did, like they would always have my back. Do you know what I mean? If I was happy. That's the thing. They wouldn't never say, "Oh, you can't do that. That's like beneath you," or "Don't do." Like they were like, "Yeah, well, happy." My mum buzzes about it. You know, like my mum loved it, like, absolutely loved it, and she still does. Do you know what I mean? She goes whatever salon she goes into, like they always like she gets like star treatment and stuff. You know, so she thinks it's great. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Did it like obviously you worked at Tony and Guy pretty much your whole career until you went freelance. What was it like to work for a large company like that, like the positives and negatives?
I think there's so many positives for me. It was that I was always surrounded by it. Like there's always people much better than you. So no matter what level you're at, there's always people that are better than you. And no matter how long you're there, there's going to be people younger than you that are coming better than you. There's people older than you that are better than you. And I say that in a way is that it allows you to learn all the time. You're always pushing yourself. like we trained to become teachers. So we do a thing called art team there, or I did. So you had to go like every Tuesday after work, and it would be from like 7 till 10, 11 o'clock at night. And you'd start off learning more creative things, and they'd do it in groups. And then the next group up, is learning how to teach. So you have like classic haircuts, like they're fundamental shapes, and you have to get up and demo them in front of the rest of the class and get critiqued. So like if you're doing like a one length bob on stage in front of your friends and stuff, where everyone's kind of fighting to be the best one there, it's kind of quite competitive. And also you get told if you do it wrong, like and it's like, it's kind of heartbreaking, but at the same time it gives you like enough kind of confidence when you come out of it to be able to go to another country and stand up on stage and deliver a message of the company, so there was always things you had to learn, haircuts you had to learn, that if you were going away and educating, like there'd be like the haircuts had names and you had to go and be able to sort of do them. So you're always pushing yourself. I think like I suppose most of my best friends now, people that I worked with at Tony and Guy, because you're so close knit all the time, and like the social aspect of it was amazing, because you were always kind of like, there was always things going on. I traveled the world doing hair shows and stuff like that, so that was insane. I would say my only thing I could say was a positive is that I would have liked to have earned a bit more money, like for what I was doing. I think that is a negative. I think also I come out of it, and then I went to America and I was watching other people cut hair, and I started to work more in fashion, and I saw how other people approached hair, and I was like stuck in like a box of, this is how you have to do it. And I think that really opened my eyes up when I left, because you're like, right, there's so many different ways you can like you can do this, like, but I was just always, this is how I'd learn, and I didn't know any better, and it's not that it's right or wrong, it's just there's other approaches that can be just as good, do you know what I mean, or better.
Yeah. And
for me it was like, kind of learning to use clippers after 10 years of never using clippers in my career, and I started using clippers, and I was like, well, why have I been like making my life so difficult with scissor over comb the whole time? Do you know what I mean? Like scissor over combing like every bit of the hair and tapering it with scissors. So then I was like, oh, you can do it with clippers. Wow, this is good. Do you know what I mean? But I never knew that, because we weren't allowed to use them for that long. It was just like a no-no.
They introduced clippers not long after you left, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was me pushing for it, really.
Yeah.
Like you said about Kevin, like Kevin started to work with me in the thing, like the men's course I was running, Kevin come on it about 4 times, so me and him become friendly, because he was always on the course I was running, and he was a barber, like he'd done barbering before, and I was like, so we got on really well. And then I was kind of like, I was trying to push for these clippers to come in, like we need to start using clippers, but I wasn't good enough with them, do you know what I mean? And then Kevin was there, so Kevin was teaching me how to use clippers, and it was kind of like that sort of time. I think the first collection they might have used clippers on is the one that I left, but we started being able to teach people how to use clippers. Like me and Kevin done a few like things with all the art directors about showing them how to kind of do fades and things like that. But it was that transitional time, and then I left and Kevin took over, and obviously Clipper and then like really blew up, and it was when Instagram was starting to really kind of, people were really like looking at Instagram and stuff, and it was just like, it was that real time of like transition of like barbering and hairdressing sort of kind coming together.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So was that 2013 or 14?
I left in 14. So around, I'd say from 2012 to 2014, we were really trying to push like to bring in clippers. But to what the problem that you have with that company is, say you've got 10,000 staff around the world, they all need to be trained.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They all need to be trained. So it's kind of like, it was very difficult as in to say like all of a sudden, right, give everyone these things and see how you get on in the shop. Do you know what I mean? So there had to be, yeah, exactly. And no matter how good you are at using scissors and comb, using clippers is a completely different way of approaching it. Do you know what I mean? So like it can, some like, disasters could happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a real interesting time for the company, you know. And I think, you know, like they were really happy with me and what I was doing with the men's course. And I kind of, you know, like that course got built up massively, like because it was when I started teaching on it, there was like 4 people on it, and it was 3 times a year. When I left, it was twice a month, 25 people each time, so 50 people a month.
Wow.
You know, and now it's down to me, Kevin, Charlie, Dexter, who's running it now. You know, so it's kind of like it was just like left before, like no one really was interested, but I had this massive passion for men's hair. And then there was like, oh, you start running the course. So I kind of built this kind of program sort of thing of presentations and history on men's hair and fashion and stuff, and trying to bring that element into it and stuff like that, along with like technical hair cutting. And it just kind of kicked off. But I'm not saying it's down to me, but it was that time where women's hair compared to men's was quite boring. Like men's hair was really changing, like when Scorum come out and did what they were doing and you were doing your thing and stuff like that, and it's just like all of a sudden, like, you know, men's hair has just blown up massively. Like, you know, it was great, and I suppose it's still kind of rolling like that now, isn't it, as well?
I mean, yeah, like you've basically just answered it, but like, was barbering something on like men's hair, was it something you were interested in before anyway, or was it just around the boom it kind of opened your eyes?
No, I think always, man, always trying to learn, always trying to get better. Men's hairs, like as soon as I started hairdressing, I could scissor over the comb before I could blow dry, like because I felt when I was training, like if I had a training day, I could always get mates to come in and have a haircut because they thought it was cool going to Tony and Guy, get a trim. Do you know what I mean? Like it was like they'd never be able to step foot in one of them shops otherwise, you know, it was too expensive. But so I'd always have people coming in for haircuts. So I was always cutting my mate's hair early on. So I kind of like my interest in it started straight away because I think the technical side of it was one thing. It was hard. And I just felt more comfortable with guys than doing a girl's hair. I think if I'd done my mate's hair or a guy's hair and didn't do it right, I wouldn't feel that embarrassed. But if I was doing a girl's hair and like I would do it, I'd feel a bit more embarrassed because I don't like not being able to do something. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I think I just gravitated towards it. And then I didn't realize at the time, but I've always had an interest in men's fashion, and it was not like all like catwalk stuff, but like, you know, men's style and stuff. So if I think when I was growing up in the 90s, we used to save up our money and buy like Moschino and Versace jeans and kind of like all sort of labels, and it was that kind of football casual Britpop kind of rude boy London thing, I suppose, that was going on at the time, you know. So I always really, really liked it. And then the more I got into it, the more I started looking at shows and kind of like weirder hair and stuff like that. And then it's kind of just, I like youth cultures. I like kind of that tribal thing of like people dressing in a certain way to kind of, I don't know, peacock or whatever, so to speak. Do you know what I mean? I like that thing. I like going to places. I like seeing different, like, I like not knowing what's going to be the next kind of style. I think that to me is what makes it interesting. Do you know what I mean? Because you just don't know what's going to happen. And I think in the past, it was a bit much more obvious. There was much more like you dressed in a certain way. You went to the same clubs, you listened to the same music. Now we're just everything. We've got too much information, I think. Do you know what I mean? But it's too kind of like mixed together. Like it's not kind of strong enough. But yeah, I always men's hair always was the thing for me. And now I still do some women's hair, but it's just clients that I've been doing for like 15 years that I still cut their hair. But if someone says to me, "Oh, my girlfriend wants a haircut," now I'm just like, nah. unless she wants like androgynous haircut, then I'm not really into it. I don't want to do like long layered blow dried wavy kind of stuff. Like I'm not interested in it really.
If your heart's not in it, then there's no point.
Yeah, exactly. There's no point, is there? And I think that for me is like when I left Tony and Guy, that was one of the major reasons, because I only wanted to do the stuff that I enjoyed. Like I didn't want to do things that I didn't feel passionate about anymore. Like I didn't want to deliver someone else's message anymore. Like I just wanted to do hair that I liked. And I know that sounds like really poncy, but I just, like I think if I'm going to carry on my life like doing this job, I want to experience other things, really.
Yeah. I mean, how was it going from a structured job as a key member of the Tony and Guy team to then entering the world of editorial and freelancing?
Mate, it was like so difficult because it really like I'd say everything that I'd done before in the hair world didn't really matter. Like it didn't matter that I'd won a BHA, really. Like no one cared. In fashion, no one cares. In fact, they'd probably hold it against you if they knew that, I would say, just because the hair's so different. Do you know what I mean? So for me, it was like starting again, and it was humbling. It was very, very humbling because, like when I was at Tony and Guy, I had a very good job and a lot of people wanted my job. And it was like kind of like you're put on this kind of pedestal in a way, and it was easy. Do you know what I mean? Because people, oh, he's an art director. Oh, it's amazing. Do you know what I mean? And it's great. Like it strokes your ego massively. It's beautiful. But actually coming out of that and going on my own, it was like, who is this guy? Prove yourself, and doing hair for editorial side of things is so much different because it's not about like just a haircut. Do you know what I mean? Like I cut a lot of hair when I'm on shoots because I enjoy it, and if it needs it, I can do it. Whereas a lot of people that do my job, maybe their styling is much stronger than their cutting, so they might not. So I had to really it took me, I'd say, a good 4 years of like building up again, starting again. Like I enjoyed it, don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining in the slightest. It was like I had a great time. And sometimes when you're kind of getting knockbacks and you're learning and things ain't going well, at the time it's heartbreaking, but when you look back, they're the times that actually really matter, because they're the times that kind of define you, is how you come out this other side of it. So I always knew what I wanted to do, and I'm still trying to get there. I'm still trying to achieve what I want to achieve and stuff. So I think the transition was hard, and the hardest thing was just not being with my mates anymore. That was the hardest thing, honestly, like not having the camaraderie of the team and going to the pub afterwards and stuff like that, and like going to lunch with the boys and things like that, like with Kev and my mate Philip and Charlie. Like it was just like them times were just the best, because you just like you're creating like memories together. Now it's like I might do something at work and I've got no one to tell. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's a bit lame. Do you know what I mean? It's dry, but yeah. But it's got its pros and cons, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, was social media beneficial for you going into a session, or did it not really matter?
Yeah, I think so, definitely. Like, I mean, it's weird, isn't it? Because I haven't really got a very big following, but I suppose I've got a big following compared to some people. But it's not like it definitely helped me because, like, I suppose like models wanted haircuts and stuff like that, and people can see you've got a few followers. So like, if a brand thinks, oh, you might post their picture, then like it might help them and stuff. I don't know. Social media's helped. I think that most it's helped about is just having like communication with the community of the hair world and the fashion world. For me, it's one of them things that I hate it and I love it. Like I hate the fact that I look at my Instagram when I wake up in the morning and I don't even know why I'm doing it, because I'm checking my emails and then I look on Instagram and I think, what am I doing? I don't even want to look at anything. Do you know what I mean? It's just that habit thing. Like, but yeah, I think social media has been a massive help, and I think it's a massive help to anyone. Do you know what I mean? That is their own brand. Obviously, like, you know, your kind of YouTube channel and your social media, like at that time, it was just like it just blew up, didn't it? Because it was like perfect timing, and really, really, really interesting content. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's a lot harder nowadays.
Everyone wants to see. Yeah,
it's a lot hard. Like a lot of people are less inclined to click follow or even likes nowadays. People don't even like photos that much, you know.
It's true. I think everyone's got their back up a little bit with social media and stuff, isn't they? Because you kind of don't want to like make someone too big, or you don't want to like people like stuff and just don't but they don't like it. Do you know what I mean? No one
They
Like if I
mentally.
like something, I want to tell someone. Do you know what? That's sick. Like you're amazing, man. Like that's like do it. Like it's great. It's a weird thing, isn't it? But yeah. You're traveling. It's funny because when I went away, I don't know. It must have been like before you went away. I was like going to these barbershops and I was like writing a blog. So I was like writing these little things and posting them on my website. And it was like probably the most boring thing ever for someone to read. I was like, who's reading my blog? Like how lame must that? When I look back at it now, it seems like it's like 100 years old. And then you do like videos and going in like traveling the whole place and like amazing footage and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, maybe I should have done that.
But it's funny because when I first came up with the idea, it started off in my head as just like a blog spot or something, just doing a little page, just writing about barbershops or just putting pictures up of cutting hair in cool places, and then it kind of just advanced and advanced. But I do remember when I kind of remember following you on Instagram around that time when it looked like you were traveling a little bit and you could see you were kind of slowly detaching from Tony and Guy. And it was you could just tell like it was in you, like you were about to do something or, go it alone basically.
Yeah, I mean, at the time I was wanted to sort of start a business and do a shop. So I went away to do all this research about it because I was like, I need a break. I've been working non-stop for like 20 years without a longer holiday than 2 weeks. And I was tired and I needed like some ideas of what I wanted to do. So in my head, I wanted to do a shop, an academy, and like really have this strong focus on like men's hairdressing and barbering combined. I really wanted to do it with Kevin. Kevin wasn't ready to leave. Like he needed to stay and do his thing at Tony and Guy and run the men's course and stuff. And so the timing for us was a little bit off because if we would have left at the same time, like we might have done it, but then, then we wouldn't be where we are now doing what we're doing. So, but when I come back, I looked at all these shops. I come back and I started working at ASOS and doing hair like for the models on their e-com, like just to kind of get by like as a freelance basis. And I was working in a shop doing haircuts and then I was shooting editorials when I could. And I just really started enjoying the shooting thing. And I was like, oh, maybe I could try and give this a go. So like I really put my head down and tried to build a portfolio for the next year or two. So I was just working like all the time, shooting all these little magazines, and anyone that wanted to shoot, I would shoot with them. I'd always say yes. And it was hard. I had to move out my flat because I couldn't afford to pay the mortgage. I had to like move in with my girlfriend's parents at the time for a few months and stuff. But it was amazing, man. And then I built a book, and then somehow I managed to get an agent, like a top agent. And I was like, wow, now I've made it. Like now I'm like halfway there. And then kind of they help you, guide you a little bit, try and like tout you from like get you more work and stuff. And they deal with like taking like the money and everything. And so you don't have to have embarrassing like sort of kind of back and forth with clients. yeah, exactly.
I do it for £100. I undercut myself.
Yeah, I mean, it was that time. So yeah, social media did help me a lot back then as well, and it was just nice. It was nice seeing the industry go, seeing like people like Alan and Reese speak and stuff like that, what they're doing, and like being in Oldham and like smashing it, and them getting really big, and just seeing everyone grow, like and taking advantage or taking advantage in a positive way of creating yourself a brand, like. With actually doesn't cost you money. Like it's incredible. It's an incredible tool for that. It's amazing. Like to get out there. My social media now is just like it's just my work stuff really. Like I kind of it's not much apart from that really. It's a bit boring to be honest. But
I think I already like knew about you before social media from the little that I knew about the hair world at the time. Like when I first moved to London, like 2009. I guess I would see you probably in like HJ and stuff and see your name. Didn't know what you look like or anything like that, but eventually when Instagram came about and I probably found your profile, I was like, oh, so that's Jody Taylor.
We'll probably think, who's this Miss Taylor? Who is she?
You must get that so much.
Mate, every time I get it on a daily basis. I'm like, this is a message for Mrs. Jody Taylor. Your survey's been done, and I'm like, all right, fucking bellend. Nah. Yeah, it's all. I'm so used to it now. I couldn't really don't care. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, no. I think I was lucky because I was at Tony and Guy. You could get in them magazines. Like now, like there's so many different hair magazines and stuff, and it's kind of like you can get in them. But in the past, it was just like no one really knew about how to take a nice picture before social media themselves. Do you know what I mean? So you're relying on
you need a photo shoot, yeah. You need to get a proper photographer.
Exactly. Yeah, now, like some barbers, like Nick, for instance, Nick Barford, he takes such nice pictures. You know that?
I don't know who that guy
mug?
is.
That little mug.
He's so cute. Nick, you're so cute.
I'm scared. He takes great pictures though.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like teaching people taking their own pictures now that are good enough to go into hair magazines. Back then it was kind of like, and it's not even that long ago, like 10 years ago, like it kind of was a lot harder to get in them. Do you know what I mean? So like you couldn't, like smaller brands and stuff like that, individual people found it, I suppose, was difficult. Where I was at Tony and Guy, I'd done a shoot for their collection, and then they might put your pictures in there and talk about it.
So in terms of like nowadays, what is kind of the percentage, like the split up between the type of work that you do? Is majority of it editorial or education?
I do very limited education these days. I still like doing it. I don't try to like oversell it in a way. I think it's such a niche because when I left Tony and Guy, I was at like a, before I was used to teaching in a certain way. When I come out, I was like, I can teach whatever I want. But I think for me, I was still trying to develop my own taste in work, my own style myself. And I think I started teaching and was doing some bits back then. And I was lost because I'm like trying to teach barbers barbering, but they're better at barbering than me, like, because I'm still learning. And then like I was unsure. Now I kind of like, I know my taste in work a lot more. I know what I like, and I think people recognize my work for what it is now. But I think there's such a smaller niche. Because a lot of the stuff I do, like that I post, the hair's kind of a bit strange. It's not like normal day-to-day haircuts and stuff like that. So I think a lot of people don't really have any interest in it. And then there's some people that do have an interest in it. So it's not like I'm just doing a haircut and posting like a really immaculate haircut, because, I've done that a long time ago and stuff like that. And my focus was on technique of haircuts at the time. Now my focus is on the image in itself. So every little aspect that goes into it and the thought process behind it. So my classes are quite small when I teach now, but I do really, really enjoy it as well, because I know when people come, they're very interested in it on that side of the world. So now I think I'm teaching people more about editorial hair, more about that side of it, obviously with like cutting techniques in there as well. But yeah, so now I think my time, a little bit of teaching, maybe every other month, maybe I'll do a course. I'd probably say I'm shooting like 3 or 4 times a week. And it's like a combination of like working with brands. Like I work with a lot of different brands, and then I'll do probably like 3 editorial shoots a month for magazines. I've cut back a lot on them now because I try to be a lot more selective about what I do. Whereas in the past I used to say yes to everything. Now I want to know if I got to understand whether it's gonna, like, I'm going to learn something from it, I'm going to benefit from it, as opposed to just saying yes to everything, because I think you knacker yourself out. And I think you've got to try to also keep your level of work at a good standard. So for me, I'd rather put much more effort into one shoot, one editorial, than do 6 and it get a bit lost, really. So yes, some weeks I work 6 days, some weeks I work 1 day. It all depends. You never know. It's that freelance lifestyle, and it's the scariest thing, because you just don't know how much you're going to work, if the phone's going to ring. And now after this situation we're in at the moment, I'm like, is anyone even going to care about like fashionable hair, like fashion hair anymore? Like, who cares? Like, like, do go and to be a key worker. Do you know what I mean? Make the world a better place. I'm
Go
just
and work
doing
on the
like
roads. Put the cones out.
I know my dad was right. My dad was right, innit? I'd still be working.
He called it early. I think what you were saying about your work though, it is like I know your posts. Like I know it's you before I even look whose name is above it. You know, no, it's
like that. Oh, what's this airy
so
fairy
shit.
stuff?
Like it just like, oh my god. No, I think like what you say, like it is untouched. It's not the perfect immaculate haircut, but what I think a lot of people don't realize is that it's very difficult to make hair look like that.
Yeah.
A lot of people go into like I've worked on some shoots before, and then I've worked with the barbers on shoots, and people go in and try and style or make the hair look like they would in a shop. It doesn't work in front of a camera. You put too much hairspray on, it's gonna look terrible. You put too much whack, do you know what I mean? So there's an art to it.
Yeah, it's something that I'm still kind of learning now, and that's one of the things I really like is making different textures with hair. So like, you know, you never know what model, like the texture of a model's hair is gonna have and stuff. So it's always just like, you could see something and it could have taken me 3 hours, and you could look at it and be like, that like just looks like his hair. Do you know what I mean? Like it looks like there's nothing to it, but actually if you saw it when it come in, it's completely different. But it's still not like out there. It's still not kind of showing off to be the focal point in a way, if that makes sense. It took me a long time to kind of understand that, because naturally what we do is to make things look perfect. It's our natural, it's what we do in a shop. Is like someone wants to go, you want to give them the perfect haircut, show them the back, every little hair's in the right places. It should be how they want it, you know. So to try to kind of break that down and deconstruct it and stuff is very, very difficult, mate. I'm struggle with it now. I struggle all the time because naturally I still do the hair, and I'm always like, it looks too done still. Do you know what I mean? How do you make something look more messy? I don't know how. Like, how, do you know what I mean? And then sometimes like we'll go on lunch and the model's put his hat on and he's come back in and I'm like, your hair looks sick, because he's had his hat on. And it's like, I couldn't have done that myself. Do you know what I mean? And it's got a little dent here and little details. And you're just like, oh yeah, that's perfect. Don't touch it. Do you know what I mean? It's fine. It's a fine line of like just making something overly complicated when it could just be like, you could just shoot it and it looked great. But, you know, at the same time, I love like doing hair. I love actually being able to make something look perfect, because that is very, very enjoyable. Like I love doing hair. I love cutting hair. Like I'm still so fascinated in technique and stuff like that, you know, I enjoy that, and I always try to improve that. You know, I always try to meet other barbers and kind of trade sort of techniques with them and stuff, so I can always pick up tips from other people. And no matter how old they are, like who they are, I don't care. I love to learn, and I'm not like afraid to ask people questions as well. Do you know what I mean? Like I'll be honest, like I'm you know, there's a lot of insecurities in my work, but I'm also, it's kind of, I think is one of my stronger points, because I'm also open-minded to learn as well. I don't think I don't think like I'm the finished article of what I want to be technique wise.
Are there any people who stand out for you as people who've you've taken the inspiration from over the past few years in terms of learning?
Mate, yeah, loads. I mean, it's so, yeah. I mean, visually looking at someone's work, like there's a couple of session hairdressers that I love, and one of them's called Gary Gill. I don't know if you're aware of his work. Gary Gill, yeah, check him out. He does like the Balenciaga show, the Vetements show. He's like a lot of fashion stuff, but his hair's very like, kind of, there's a bit of an anger to it, but it's also like really beautiful in an angry way. Like it's not like classically beautiful hair. And another guy called Anthony Turner, who's you know, a session hairdresser. And then more on the barbering side of things, there's so many people, man. Like honestly, like I love Nick's work, like barbering from your shop. Yeah, I think his like style of work and stuff like that, and and is it like, if I'm looking at perfection, his stuff is incredible to me. Like, I love it. I love that, everything about it.
I think what you could say about his work is, I feel like Nick is one of the people that've got the perfect combination between contemporary hairdressing and classic barbering mixed up in two.
Oh yeah,
but done really well. You know.
Yeah.
I'm not giving him a big head. He's going to listen to this. You're not that good, Nick.
He's still a bellend. He'll always be a bellend. I think he's one for me that I love. Obviously my mate Charlie Gray. I love, what you've done as well with your brand. I think in terms of like branding and things like that, and actually doing something that's different and interesting, because that's, to me, what I like, is when people are individual and create something around the environment that they enjoy and they want to be at. And that to me is like, success and successful shops and stuff like that. I really love RPB shop in Manchester. I think their shop's super cool. Alan Reese Beek, Hayden, Cassidy, for coming through the ranks so quickly and being able to be a one-man band and go and travel the world and educate people and stuff like that when so young, and compared to like how long we've been doing it and stuff like that, and seeing someone be able to grow like that and have confidence and stuff, I think is incredible. I like seeing young people do well. I love people doing well. And what I love is that there's room for all of us in the industry. Like, no matter what your style is, what you do, like, it's great. I love watching Slider cut hair. Like, love watching him cut hair. He just cracks me up. Do you know what I mean? What a character. Like, but yeah, mate, I could list so many more.
We're a colourful bunch of people in this industry.
Yeah.
Like exactly. I say, like you said though, like a lot of the young people coming up, like some people have been cutting hair a year and that's just unreal. I'm like,
I know, it's so depressing.
I can't wait till I'm that good.
I know. It's funny though, isn't it? Because you think, like, when I was learning and stuff, like taking a picture of your haircut, like I don't even know if my camera had a phone, like my phone had a camera on it back then. I can't remember when I was learning to cut hair. Do you know what I mean? So being able to like actually document everything you do and look back at it and just be like, yeah, last year I was crap. I'm getting better. And seeing that over the time, it's quite a powerful, like, nice thing to be able to do, isn't it? Really. Whereas I couldn't tell you the haircuts I'd done 20 years ago.
I don't think I took a photo of a haircut until probably like 2011. I don't think, maybe 2010. Yeah. Like we did the shoot.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't remember having a camera phone. I never did. You just wouldn't take a photo of someone's hair. Like, what for? Where would you post it? There's nowhere to post it.
No, well, you just have, like your photo albums at home at like your mum and dad's house, where the photos are like printed out and stuck in there.
Imagine a client like, can I take a photo of your haircut? And they'd be like, what are you talking
about? You nonce.
Yeah.
He's a sicko. Oh no, but do you know what? It's good though. You've got to evolve, and you have to evolve with all these things, like with everything in the industry. Like, it is nice that new things come out, and like the industry is like forever changing, isn't it? Really, trying to stay on top of it.
That's it. But like, you obviously worked on Fashion Week and stuff like that. They're quite difficult to work on, them shows, exhausting.
I mean, it's exhausting if you've got do a lot of shows in the same day. At Tony Guy, we used to do the company would do so many shows at Fashion Week, like sponsoring them, so there'd be different hair teams and stuff. I think when you do men's ones, it's a lot more chilled out than women's, just because the guy models are a little bit more fun.
Yeah.
They have less makeup put on their hair. Their hair's not being yanked all over the place like the girls get. They tend to be just happier, it's a nicer environment. So the boys shows are great. I love it. You have such a laugh backstage. The models, it's really good. It's only difficult when if a model's doing like another show before and he finishes and then he's got to rush over to this one, and then you've got like 5 minutes to do his hair, so there'll be like 10 people on one person's head just trying to do it while he's getting his makeup done, like, and all of that, then it can be a rush. But it's a buzz, man. It's an absolute buzz. Like it's great doing them sort of things. I love it. I love doing shows. But you know, the same. Go on.
No, go on.
No, I was just going to say I want to do more. Like I really want to do more. I've not done one for a few years. So I kind of like, I'm super keen to get backstage again. Really.
Yeah, Kevin's always backstage, so you could.
Mate, he's backstage when he's in his house. Though, isn't he? He's all backstage.
So if you are heading up a campaign or a show or anything, when you're dealing with a client, from like the beginning to end, what's the timeline like? What's it look like? Do you have to pitch something to them for a show, or do you have to tell them
if
what you're
you're
doing?
doing yeah, if you're doing a show, normally what would happen is you'd go like maybe the day before, a couple of days before, and you'd meet like the designer and their stylists and like the other people in the company, and then they'd sort of like, while they're doing all their fittings, and their time at that point would be crazy because they'd be fitting all the models, they'd be like still cutting the clothes. Like it can be hectic. So you'd go and meet them and they'd give you kind of a brief, and then you do what you call a hair test. So you'd either have a model there or you'd have a dolly head. You'd normally have a model, and then you'd have to show them a look, what you think would be right for the show. And they'd look at it, they'd assess it, they'd tell you no or yes. And then you could be there for like 10 hours or you could get it first time. So that's quite scary. But I think, you know, like I've not had the pleasure of heading shows enough myself to have like, say, like I work with the same designer all the time, you know. But when you do have a relationship with a designer or a stylist, then obviously their confidence in you is like having a client that once you've kind of won their trust, they'll kind of go with your judgment and your kind of decision on it. Do you know what I mean? So there'll be much more once you've got that, and someone likes to work with you and they believe in you, you've won them over, then I think they'll much more, you'll feel more confident in yourself to express what you think would be right without being scared of them not liking it. Because there's a lot of this, very hard when people say, no, actually, I don't like it. Can you change it or do something different? Or it looks too wet, or it looks too dry, or it looks too done, or it looks like, what is it? I don't even get it. Do you know what I mean? When you hear that, it's kind of like,
what is it?
Yeah. Well, what is this? What is this? Yeah, it's having that like thick skin, I suppose, that you don't get upset and precious about something, because at the end of the day, like it's just a part of it. And, you know, like it used to really get me down, but now I'm like, actually, do you know what? Like that's pushing me to do something else. So you try something else. And then when you finally get it, you're like, actually, you're right. Do you know what I mean? I can see now why that wasn't right. Or sometimes you might think, actually, it looked so much better before. I've had like I was doing a shoot for a brand, and the guy went to me, everything is so good, but the hair is just weird. Like what is the hair? And I'm like standing next to him, and he didn't know I was the hairdresser. Because it's so just weird. Like, what is it? What is it? And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, and he said the name of the brand. He was, I can't, like, it's a high street brand. He goes, we're not Vogue. Like, what are you doing? And I was like, oh my God, like, wow. I thought it looked so cool. Like, I was so proud of it. You know, like it was like the best spot of hair for the whole, like, of all the models. I was like, yeah, this one's sick. He just absolutely ruined me. And I did get booked again for another 6 months with them. So I was like, all right. But yeah, you just got to take it on the chin, innit?
Yeah, it's so funny. You're saying earlier that, you know, you don't get too involved, and I've always kind of, without even asking you, you strike me as someone who kind of keeps themselves to themselves. Is it you just like to keep a tight circle, or you just stay away from the political side of the industry, or?
I think it's a bit of both, really. You know, I suppose I'm a bit like, I've been in it a long time. Like, I mean, if you know me and you know me, then you know I'm not like quiet or like haven't got an opinion, but I just keep my opinion to myself a lot of the times. For me, like the social media side of things is a great thing. Like I don't want to be famous. Like I'm not someone that is craving fame or to be like loved and stuff like that. I don't need that. Like I just want to be respected for my work. Do you know what I mean? So that's why you don't really see me talking much on Instagram and things like that, because I don't know, like I think I find a lot of that side of it cheesy for my taste. Like it depends what people, if there's a good subject and something's interesting, but just to be like, yeah, like I'm really cool and I cut hair, it's like I'm not really into that. Do you know what I mean? I just like people that are a bit more humble, really. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. I keep my friends close, really, I suppose. But yeah, I just, I don't know. Did I answer the question?
And outside of hair, have you got any other passions or?
But I mean, yeah, like obviously, like I am very much into like clothes and stuff like that. Like I said,
Machino jeans, as you said before.
Yeah. I'm into fashion, mate. I love my sport. Like obviously, I love football. One of my things.
Are you an Arsenal fan?
No, I'm a Tottenham fan. How dare you? Are you a football fan?
Yeah, I mean, like I'm not a crazy football fan. I support Liverpool, though.
Yeah. I mean, I love football, but mate, I play golf as well. Like golf to me is like my version of meditating, because I'm outside for like 4 hours, just in a field with people that have got nothing to do with hairdressing or barbering. Do you know what I mean? Just with my mates, and it's just, for me, that's like when I completely switch off, like because I'm just not thinking about anything other than what I'm doing and just chilling and stuff. So that to me is just being outside and walking and stuff like that is cool. So I love my golf. I love football. I love films. Like I like movies and stuff like that. Really trying to get ideas from things. I'm pretty boring, mate. Really, I've got my dog. I walk my dog. I'm not that exciting. I'm not like a high adrenaline sports sort of person. Do you know what I mean?
But golf, you never know. It's a pretty.
Nah, mate, don't knock it. It's the new rock and roll, mate. I'm telling you.
You just said that it's your type of meditating, but do you actually meditate as well, or?
I do try to sometimes. I find it quite difficult to switch my mind off. Like a few years ago, I was having like a real trouble sleeping and stuff like that, like really bad nightmares and things. So like I tried meditating, and then it did really help me. Are you into that stuff, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm pretty into it. I think that's the main thing that people always say, is that they can't switch off.
Yeah,
but it's the hardest.
It's hard, isn't it? Like,
yeah, I think the goal is, though, it's not really to switch off entirely. It's to quieten the mind.
Yeah.
And let whatever be. I think that's the perception we have about meditation, and that's where I found that I've let it flow a little bit easier as well. Is that when I've not tried to control it so much, and not try to be like, go away thoughts, just kind of like let it come, and then
let them fly away. Yeah.
That's
and you're then thinking like, oh, what are the takings going to be in the Berlin shop this Friday? Did I pay the rent? Like, shit, the assistant left. Oh mate, I've got to employ someone else.
The thing is though, when you meditate,
Nick Barford's nicking out the till.
Oh, he always does it. He's always dipping his tiny little hands in the till. That's the funny thing when you meditate, is like you realize how busy your mind is, because the random thoughts that just pop up, and you find yourself like procrastinating about something so random, and then you're like, wait there, I'm sitting here in front of a candle meditating, let me just get back to this, instead of thinking about Nick Barford.
I know. I mean, even in this time now, like, I'm like, I've tried to have my quiet moments and stuff like that. And what I've been like doing, like Pilates and stretching and stuff for like a good half an hour, 45 minutes a day. And that's, for me, is a time where I kind of just try to not think too much about stuff. And it does really help.
I think any sort of movement is good.
Yeah. Especially at my age, isn't it, mate? The back's all seizing up.
My back is ruined. Yeah. I like, yeah, like as soon as I do something like manual, like I was saying, I was working on the house. I do a few hours of that, and then this is like throbbing pain comes into my back, and I'm like,
Really? Yeah.
oh, my wrists are messed
What's your
up.
What are you doing now then? What's your goals now, man? Like, what you got in the pipeline or?
But kind of doing a bit of a rebrand of the products. Learned
Yeah.
a lot over the past couple of years since we launched. Some of the formulations we changed. We're going to look at changing the packaging and take the branding slightly a bit of a different direction. So that's something I was planning before this happened, and then it's kind of slowed down now. But that's kind of like the next stage, and then kind of working more on the YouTube channel a little bit more, trying to be a bit more
Oh,
consistent
nice.
with different types of content. Not so much on the travel
Yeah.
side. That'll be every now and again, but yeah. And then hopefully we'll be doing something with education in the next few months.
Oh, nice.
If Nick Barford pulls his finger out.
Mate, he's quality, though.
Yeah,
That's
so-
good, mate. You've always got things going, haven't you?
Yeah, I think it's just about turning those ideas into actions. That's the hardest thing, and that's maybe one of the positives about having this quiet time, just to plan things and think about what ideas you want to progress with and what you want to kind of hold back on a little bit.
Yeah.
So what's happening with your products?
Oh, mate. I mean, it's on hold at the minute, man. Like the few things happened. Like we were kind of ready to go. Mate, it was like 2017. Like we were literally ready to go. Maybe it was 18. I can't remember. But we basically they were bringing out 3 products, and 2 of them were perfect. One of them I wanted to change. I was like, do you know what? I'm about to like produce 5,000 of these. I'm not quite sure. Like there's a little tweak that I need to do to it. And they were like, oh, you need to wait till the new year. And then the company making them just made me wait so they could change it. And they were like taking the piss. And in the meantime, like my business partner, who I'm doing it with, my mate, he'd sort of like, he's freelance and he'd lost his major client. So he didn't have any money. So he was like, like trying to like get a job and stuff like that. And kind of what money we had to do it like gone down like a bit. So they made us wait, and then by the time that they said, oh, like we can change the products, they basically doubled our orders and said like, because we built them from scratch, they were like, now you've got to produce like, I don't know, 7,500 of each product. And I'm like, a lot of it was like natural ingredients and stuff. So they were like, the fill price was very expensive. The packaging was expensive because I didn't want to like have anything that I wasn't like really into, so it wasn't like I was trying to bring out like a white label product. It was like, no, this is like the packaging's made of this, and it's like got this rubberized finish, and so we were trying to do it, in a way, but obviously it was like high end, and they just like at the time they just kind of broke us because it was like, I can't afford to do that. I can't afford to do that at this period in time. So we now own the formulas and the IP. So we're just kind of like waiting to find someone else, like another manufacturer. But at the same time, there's also like we were on a strong direction of it being like sustainable and natural and everything. And now I kind of want to take that to another level. And I'm sure you understand this. It's very, very expensive.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We're doing things the way that you want to do it is so much more expensive. So I think like, even though we haven't released like our branding, I'm very happy with it. There's also tweaks that we need to make to it, and it needs to change slightly. It needs to evolve because I feel like the market is changing again and again and again. So I think like it's hard without major funding. Like mine is all self-funded with me and my friends. So everything we put into it, like, it's been our money. Like we've got no investor. So now it's like, do we try and get investment, and then will that then sort of take away a bit of the kind of, it's too much of a business and we need to make money, and it takes away a little bit of the love that goes into it, because I want to make something I'm proud of, and I want it to be the way I want it to be. And although ultimately you want to make money, but really I want to make a brand that I think is really cool.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? As opposed to I want to sell like 1 million products in boots.
Yeah.
I
think it's about just getting that right manufacturer.
Sense.
Yeah. Right manufacturer.
Yeah,
Last thing you want to do is launch a new brand and have 7,500 of each product sitting in a cupboard.
Exactly. Do you know what I mean? In my garage.
Yeah.
Like, what a nightmare. But I think it's high. I learned a lot doing all of that stuff, and it's still kind of my ultimate goal is to bring out like a brand, because I haven't got the time to like have a shop and be in there all the time anymore. So I think for me that is kind of where I see my future in that. When I don't want to cut hair forever. I think, you kind of get a bit older and you think like, I don't want to be an old man cutting hair when all these young kids are like much more relevant. Do you know what I mean? So having like a way to kind of be in the industry, but kind of not be like doing hair, but still be involved in it. I think that to me is like a way for me to be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Just about working out the action plan for that, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I should be working on it now, really, but I'm watching Tiger King and all that crap.
It's so good. I just started watching a show called The Innocence Project as well. Have you seen that?
No, is it good?
True crime. Yeah, it's really good. It's like
Is it the Innocent Profiles? Is it that one or?
Yeah, it's about like people who've been wrongly convicted. It's like a documentary type thing. I love all them shows on Netflix. I don't think there's anything on Netflix you can click on and say it's bad, really. Like the quality of the stuff that they bring out now is just insane.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Oh, good, man. No, it's been nice chatting to you anyway.
Yeah.
You got more questions for me?
Yeah, I was going to say, where you go?
I'm not going anywhere. I'm just enjoying it.
Damn it, right, that's page 1 of 40. I think we're coming to the end now. I've already asked you about your product. And do you align yourself with any religions or spiritual narratives yourself?
No, mate, not really. I'm not religious. I suppose if I would be, I'd be like, it would be more towards Buddhism, because it's about like, love and happiness and peace and friendly and stuff. But no, not really. Not my parents were neither of them were religious. Like I suppose where I grew up was so multicultural and stuff like that I grew up around every type of religion possible, really. But for me, I've never had like a kind of calling in that sort of way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think my religion is Tottenham, really. The Yid Army. Yeah. Nah, mate. I just think, mate, live a positive life. Try to make yourself like, do things that make you happy. Be nice to people, treat everyone like as an equal, not depending who they are. And I don't lick people's ass that are like, famous or, like in better positions than me to get somewhere. And, I'll treat assistants and like, other people with just as much respect as I would treat anyone else, really.
Don't be like Nick Barford.
Yeah. Yeah, basically. Don't be a pleb. Yeah, but I think no. But are you religious then?
No, not really. I don't really know. I'm still on that journey. Still always. Yeah, I mean, I like to read about most religions. I do like Jesus Christ Superstar, but that's just a camp musical. It was on last week on YouTube, and I've been listening to the songs again. Reminds me of being a kid. So yeah, I guess to cap it off, we've kind of gone over it, but what have you got in store for the future and the brand? And do you have any personal goals?
Yeah, I think personal goals really is like I've left my agency, so I'm like representing myself now. So it's about kind of building that up. I think that's some part of me kind of feels like I would like to have my own agency to help people like me get into positions that they might not be able to. So like take some like men's like groomers, hairdressers, barbers, and try to give them like an opportunity to get into more editorial work and stuff like that and stuff. So that's, I think, something that is a possibility for me. I want to see if I can look after myself first. So I've given myself, like I had given myself 6 months of trying to assess, you know, what it's like without having the sort of safety net of an agent. So, and then obviously this happened. So that I left them in January, February. So I just wanted to see what was going to happen with that, and possibly like start my own agency. You know, so then I could, you know, take someone like Nick and say, let's try and get him on, build him up a portfolio of work and stuff. So then he can start to work in the session world, because to try to make the transition is very, very, very difficult. And I get asked a lot. People want to do it a lot. I think a lot of people understand the graph, but a lot of people obviously see the glamour that it's like. Yeah. And think it's easy, but you know, I'd like to be able to kind of help people with that, which I think is a possibility. I shouldn't really tell people that because that's like a massive secret, but there we go. Why not broadcast it on a podcast, eh? Yeah, so that's an idea of mine. Obviously the products is something that you know, definitely still want to work on, and you know, for me it's just always like every year I want to try to improve myself as a hairdresser and a barber kind of thing, like improve my work, try to reach out to some people to do some like training, do some education myself, get on some people's courses, do some one-on-one training. Yeah.
And stop doing weird hair on photo shoots.
Yeah, basically. Stop doing weird, strange hair. And just start posting like haircuts again. What is it? Yeah. Just a proper short back and sides, that, eh? Somewhere there.
Sick. Well, yeah, it's been good. It's been good chatting. Finally, do you want to give people your? I'll still put in the description, but maybe tell people your Instagram accounts and websites.
Yeah. So my Instagram is Jody Taylor Hair. Quite simple.
With a Y. Jody with a Y.
Yeah. Jody with a Y is the boys one, the man's version. And then I've got a website as well that you could look at that's got a bit more work on, which is just jodytaylor.co.uk. That's got most of my work on. I don't post a lot of the stuff that I put on my website as well. It's got like an archive on it, so there's a lot more to it as well. But yeah, no, mate, I just want to say thank you. It's a pleasure for you to invite me onto this, and hopefully people listen, and obviously like to actually chat with you and kind of meet you as well has been nice, because I feel like I've known you for like 8 years, but do you know what I mean?
I know.
Everyone that works in your shops and stuff, but we just don't. Yeah.
Feelings mutual, and yeah. Thanks for coming on and sharing your thoughts, and I'd love to have you back on at some point, maybe talking about some specific subjects. Yeah,
definitely, mate. Definitely. Yeah, mate. I'd love to come back on, and I'll be like, you know, my products will be out, I'll be meditating, your brand will be redone. Like Tottenham would have won the league.
Oh, so we're never going to chat, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks, right, bro.
Thanks very much, mate. Take care, yeah.
Bye.